Good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen. This is where you'll meet some of the most creative, talented, and intelligent people that come to share tips, resources, and knowledge on various topics. My guests come from many industries that include education, television, music, health and wellness, community advocates, and much more. Join me in welcoming my guest, Lisa Bishop. She's a leadership development consultant and executive coach. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. Nice to be here. I appreciate it.
All righty. So, Lisa, before we get engrossed in this exciting conversation, I'd like to read a little bit about your company, the Bishop Concept. It is a full-service leadership development firm specializing in small businesses, individual contributor and executive coaching, team building, workshop facilitation, motivational empowerment, diversity and inclusion, strategic planning, marketing, and communication. Your business model is centered primarily on authenticity and providing services designed to empower, enlighten, and energize. Yes. So you will learn a little bit more about Lisa and how she provides services designed to empower, enlighten, and energize her clients. But before we do that, I'd like to walk down memory lane with her. Lisa, I remember many moons ago getting a phone call from you saying Stephanie Audrey referred you to inquire about image consulting services. What do you remember about our meeting?
I remember being incredibly excited. There were so many doors that had been slammed in my face, and I was eager about trying to walk into this uncharted territory that I knew nothing about, and really wanted to have a guru and an expert who could kind of lead me down the path, open some doors for me, and sort of show me the way. And not only did you give me the time of day, it turned into hours, which then turned into my very first PR opportunity with Hearts in the Black community with American Heart Association, as well as we worked on the Grammys and some other things. It was pretty incredible and a great journey. And my goodness, I think that's been 20 plus years now, right?
Yes, we've done quite a bit together. And then, you were also a part of the Prime and Prep program, being a sponsor and a big supporter behind that, because that was a real important journey in my life. And so, yeah, we've definitely done quite a bit. And I think the American Heart Association involvement was really, really critical, because that was the very first time they had ever done a conference on women and heart disease. And
Wow.
you also had a big role in that particular event where, with the PR, and you helped with the setup and so much more. So yeah, it was an incredible time. And then I remember with the Grammys, I was really trying to think, what event was that? I still don't remember which event that was. I think it was a Grammy in the Streets.
That's correct.
I think it was a Grammy in the Streets event, and that was also a very important event. So yeah, so you've done some incredible things with me. And then we must not skip over our monthly lunch dates that we had. I forgot about that, right? How could you forget? Because you picked all the lunch spots. I mean, we get in the car. I had no clue where we were going. I remember I would catch Bart. He'd pick me up, get in the car, and I'm thinking we're going to be somewhere in the East Bay or something. Next thing I know, we in Monterey or wherever, just having lunch in the sun. And I'm thinking, this girl is something else. Do you remember those times?
I totally remember ththose times. They were heartfelt and wonderful, and something that we both look forward to. I think we did them like on a quarterly basis or what have you. And what would seemingly be an hour and a half lunch turned into all day affairs. We would catch up and learn and grow and share.
Oh my God, it was incredible.
Plus have amazing food. Yeah.
Oh my God, you know what? And we're definitely due for that soon, okay?
I'm looking forward to it.
So Lisa, now what I would like for you to do is give us a little bit about you. So tell me, where were you born and raised and all that other good stuff?
I was born and raised here in the Bay Area, and really love it. I've traveled all over the United States, and there's no place like the Bay Area, so I'm glad to call this home.
All righty. So Lisa, when you were a little girl in elementary school, you knew what you wanted to be. You wanted to be a boss when you grew up. So what was the impetus for you to make that kind of decision at such a young age?
I really admired women that were smart and intelligent and beautiful and driven. And that's sort of what I gravitated towards in terms of the movies that I watched, in terms of the things that I saw on television at the time. And it really inspired me to want to be like that growing up, for sure.
And you did it. So tell me now, what has your journey of becoming a boss been like? And what steps did you take to make that happen? What did you do?
I got clear about my vision. Being a visionary really helps, being able to see what the long run picture is going to be and the steps in between, and knowing that no man is an island and you really do need a village in order to support your efforts in what you're doing. And you do as much as you can as long as you've got a plan. All things are possible. One thing that I did learn on that journey was that it's never a straight path. There are a lot of different twists and turns and windy roads, but as long as you got your eye on the prize and you're still moving forward, you're going to see it to the end. So, the rainbow is definitely at the end of the tunnel, not for loss.
Well, you know what? I like what you said about the twists, the turns, and all of that. And I know when I talk to some of my students or some of my clients,
Mm-hmm.
those are the obstacles. If you don't know how to find ways around them and under them, and those where the twists and the turns come from. And we
Absolutely.
all have them, don't we? No one
We
gets
do.
through it without it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And those are the things that are not really talked about. You see the person and you admire them, and you don't know where they came from. You don't know what their journey is. We look at the Oprah Winfrey's, and she went through hell and high water. Tyler Perry went through hell and high water. But
Yeah.
look at them now.
Yeah.
You don't have to look like where you came from, but you certainly do have an obligation to yourself to believe in who you are, to make sure your faith is strong in whatever it is that you believe in, that's a higher power that's bigger than all of us, and move forward and do it and bring people along for the ride.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
isn't there. The ocean is wide. The
Yes.
universe is expansive. There's more than enough. And just like there's some for me, there's some for you too, and then some. So,
Yeah.
that's my strong belief. I really do my concerted effort to make sure I surround myself in people who believe that there's always more, and that there is not isolated situations where there's only room for one person.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, I call that passing the baton. I,
Absolutely.
I love bringing people along, or not necessarily even bring them along, just helping people out wherever I can, because
That's
it
right.
doesn't take away from me at all.
It does not take away from you at all. And if anything, it just expands your horizon and your opportunities to do more. And that, my dear, is one of the near and dear things that I enjoy about you being one of my mentors, is that you were always an open vessel of information. If I ask, not only did you share, you pointed in the right direction and said, now here, whatever you're going to do with it, you take it and move on. That takes nothing from anyone.
Yeah.
And as an advisor and mentor myself now, I do the same thing. And many of my reviews come back saying, Lisa really takes it to the extra nth, and she wants to see
sweet.
you through. And she doesn't mind sharing information, where many people share the information, but then they drop you and leave you there. And so, yeah, that's what I look for.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So now talk
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're absolutely welcome. And just hearing you say that now, because now I have a mentor and a coach with Kim Evans, and I've always been that person to actually have someone doing it for me now. Oh my goodness, it's such a feeling. I can't even begin to tell. So I think the work that you do is so important. So leading up to that, talk about the Bishop concept and your services as a leadership development coach. What is it that you do?
I do lots of training. I do a lot of strategic planning, and I do coaching of executives. And there's many times when we have gotten to a stage where we're either stuck and we don't know what we're going to do next. And sometimes you need a general guide. When you're constantly having conversation with yourself, that's a monologue, meaning one person. I believe what I'm saying and I go along with it, no matter how many doors I'm hitting. And you get to a point where too many doors, maybe there's a different way or a path that you hadn't considered. And what a coach does is it opens up the opportunity and the ideology that there's a different path. and maybe you hadn't considered this. So they open it up and then you get to choose which direction you're going to move forward with.
That's awesome. And so hearing you say that, when is it a good time? You actually just said if you're going through the same door over and over and, having that monologue to yourself, when does a person need to say, okay, now I need to reach out to a coach?
When they're feeling stuck, when they're at a crossroads. Professionally, there are many people who either think that they're ready to go to the next level, and for whatever reason, there's some obstacles that are in their way. Either the boss doesn't want them to, or they still need to get some more skills in order to move forward or what have you. That's a good time to get a coach. It's a good time to get a coach when you're at a crossroads, whether maybe I don't want to be in corporate America anymore and I want to branch out on my own. That's a great time. When you're at a place where you've become the SME, which is a subject matter expert, you become the SME, but you've sort of hit a threshold.
Okay.
There's more opportunities and things that you haven't considered. And that's sort of the sweet spot of it all. When people get excited about the possibilities of what's next, there needs to be trust. There needs to be mutual respect. There needs to be the ability to ask the smart questions in order to help them move forward. And there has to be goals that are smart. They need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely.
So now when you're with the client, and I'm sure it all depends on the individual because everybody's so different in terms of how they process or how fast they move forward and whatnot. When do you know when you are reaching that client? What are some of the signs that it's like you can see the change in them?
When the dialogue is open and it's flowing, there's a change, inflection in their tone and or their voice. Their light bulbs go off, and sometimes that's subliminal and you have to catch it. A real coach listens. They don't impart what they would do. They listen to what that person needs, how they get down, what their personality style happens to be, and then they sort of open a platform for possibilities in order for them to move forward. So when I know is when something has happened, they come back and they say, oh, by the way, I did such and such and it really worked. Or, my family notices that something different. My daughter said, Mommy, what's happening with you? Okay. Or, the team knows that there's something different and they don't necessarily say. Years ago, having a coach was not a positive thing. It was something you sort of did on the under. And particularly women, when you reach a certain spot in the C-suite, you don't want people to know that there's some things where you might be lacking. And lacking is not a bad thing. It means that's just not your strength. If you focus on your strengths, the lacking part means nothing. And that's what a coach helps you to realize. Focus on what you do really, really well. So, if you're not one who communicates well, you need to have somebody help you communicate better, but you got to know who you are and know who you're dealing with. That's what I help with. Is that helpful?
Oh, absolutely. I'm ready to schedule an appointment.
Well, there you go. I'll send you the link.
So now, Lisa, not only were you a client with the Solano Small Business Development Center, but you're also a business advisor with them. Am I correct on that?
You are.
Okay. And you were also an adjunct professor at the University of Phoenix in Livermore?
And Oakland.
Okay. See, I didn't know that one. What are some of the things about teaching that you like?
Teaching to me is kind of an old school term, and I like to consider myself a facilitator, and teachers kind of like it to me are like managers. Here's what you need to do. They go by a task list and do this. And if you don't do this, then you're not learning anything. A facilitator shares a broad perspective of what's happening, what your end goal happens to be, but invites you along for the process so that you are invested. When you're invested and you're part of the process, then you're going to learn that much more because your value is, or your opinion is valued. And people are your most valuable resource and assets, and they should be thus and such. People who tell you what you need to do, and that's the only way, and that's the only path, I tend to shy away from or excuse myself from their presence.
So tell me, what were the subject matters that you taught at these places?
Communicating effectively, interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, leading with development, conflict resolution, crucial conversations, change in anything, and the list goes on.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Absolutely. Now I'd like for you to talk about your authentic moment affirmation cards in your journal. You know, I own your affirmation cards, and I can't help but think of Louise Hay when I read them, for she was my first introduction to affirmations, and then you were fortunate enough to have met her.
Yes, I was. She was quite different than what I expected. I was expecting her to be a little teeny tiny sort of fairy-like ethereal kind of person. And she was tall and slim and had a very deep voice. Nothing like what I had conjured up in my mind, but we made a connection and a rapport, and she actually signed a couple of my books, which is pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
what a great gift to the planet she was.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about your affirmation cards for me.
My affirmation cards are called Authentic Moments, and they were birthed out of me going through a trying time in my life. And I wound up journaling and getting excited about who I was as a person and no longer feeling sorry for myself. And out of them came my authentic moments, and they're housed in these beautiful, colorful little mesh bags. There's 26 cards that are there, and you can kind of see they're colorful. You can hold them in your hand. They can fit in your purse. They can be on your nightstand. They could be at your desk. And, you shuffle the cards, and they also have a companion journal that goes along with them. And they're pretty amazing.
So do me a favor, read me a couple of the affirmations so people can kind of get a feel for,
Okay. Gladly. So what I'm doing is I'm shuffling the deck, and usually you pull 3 cards on a daily basis, and they coincide with your journal writing. Okay. And I actually have a workshop that's centered around these, and it's called Discover Your Authenticity. So I'm pulling 3 cards blindly. Okay. The first one that I picked says calmness is overlooked in the midst of chaos. Can you see that?
Yes.
And the back of it says, you are a powerful human being capable of overcoming anything, but you must recharge your senses before you can manifest clarity. So at the end of the day, even in the most challenging situations, if you're so stressed you can't think straight, then all that says is you need to rest. Just take a moment, take a pause, give yourself that self-care where when you rest, things become more clear. If you continue to try to do when you're in the state of conflict and flux, then you're going to get more conflict and flux, right?
Yeah.
Here's the second one. It says escape for a moment.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Well, it comes and it disappears.
Okay. Well, it's beautiful picture of clouds and the horizon, like you're on the airplane, which I took this picture from my airplane.
Oh, wow.
Right. It says, allow your thoughts to sift into the vast greatness and watch the possibilities. So it's kind of like meditating, if you will. And there's an opportunity to sit and be still. And sometimes when you're sitting and being still, that's when messages and things come to you. And it's a great time to jot down your thoughts. Indeed. Here's the last one that I pulled. And it says, reality check ahead.
I like that. I like that.
Today is the day.
You can see it that way. You can see it when you held it to the side.
Oh, from the side?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Reality check ahead.
Today is the day for answers. And the back of it says, put it all in perspective. So times change, people change, relationships change, life changes. Being ready for it is easier said than done, but that's part of the twists and turns and the plots that you go through. When you put things in perspective and you know what you're dealing with and who you're dealing with, you can move accordingly. So that's part of the process of what happens during that wonderful 21-day challenge which is called Discover Your Authenticity. And that's sort of a sample of what people get in that particular workshop. But
That's
you can
awesome.
also purchase these online. They're great gifts, and journal junkies would really enjoy this because it really does put things in perspective. So thanks
Yeah.
for asking.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And then one of the things that you said that just really sparked, I have to remember, is just one thing that is constant, and that is always change.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, there's no matter what you say or think or do, change is going to always have to happen. It's just the way of the world. So,
It really,
you know,
really does.
learning how to embrace it is, you know, just one of those things. And like you said, it's not always easy, but you just got to keep it going. Keep it
Yeah,
moving.
yeah. You really, really do. That's why that whole thing that happened at the Oscars last night is kind of really profound. It's when you lash out at someone, you can't take it back.
Right.
The
Right.
damage is done.
Yeah.
And even if you apologize, the relationship
Well,
alters. It's
yeah.
on a teeter-totter. It's very, very different, and it's hard to take it back. But when you don't know the backstory, we don't know what was happening in the background that propelled him forward to lash out, not only lash out, but also take action in a way that is not perceived as positive, you know?
Yeah.
And these are the things that happen in the workplace. These are things that happen in relationships. These are things that happen in friendships. These are things that happen on boards and all kinds of situations. And if we're mindful as a people, if you understand what somebody is going through, then you should be a little bit more mindful. When you don't understand what somebody is going through, then, you know, all bets are off. But even when you do, everybody is sort of piloting their own ship and moving forward and trying to get what they need to be okay for that moment. But to go out of your way to be disrespectful to someone when it's not necessary is loud.
Well, but you know, I'm going to be the devil's advocate because
Okay.
some people will say, well, he's a comedian. That's what they do.
Yeah. No, and I get that. And under certain circumstances, that probably would have been okay. My whole point of the matter, and part of what my whole training is about, is what happens in stressful, deadline-driven situations. When you're stressed, you're very different than you are when everything is hunky-dory. So if nothing's happening in the background, that is not the person that we know and love and have, you know, watched from being a young person to a grown man and seen evolve. That was completely out of character.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think your analysis of it is very valid. And I just hope that, you know, they both will be able to move forward and find a way to work it out and keep it out of the public, you know, let it be private, let them work it out, give them time.
Yeah, time is definitely the healer.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
Heal.
Yeah,
let them heal.
Yeah.
So now, Lisa, looking back over your life and career, name 3 people that have inspired you.
My grandmother, you, and Stephanie Ardrey.
Okay, talk to me about us, the 3 of us.
My grandmother was a badass. She was amazing. She was not highly educated, but she was probably one of the most brilliant people that I knew on the planet. Certainly wish that she was still here alive. I know that some of the trials and tribulations that I have stumbled upon, I probably would have had a softer landing because she was here to catch me and show me the errors of my way. And then here's the thing about a mentor. They don't tell you everything, but they believe in you as a person. They believe in your possibilities, and they see beyond your flaws, your mistakes, your eagerness, your whatever, and they want to see you propel forward.
Yeah.
If you catch them at the right time and ask them a question, you can just sit back and absorb a lot of information that's only going to take you to the next level, because as you're absorbing the information, you're actively listening because you know in your gut and your heart of hearts, this person has your very best interest at heart.
That's beautiful.
So that's what I will say about mentorship as a whole. And that's part of why, you know, you're in that realm of inspirational characters, and I have many. And so with you, like I said, you not only opened the door, you opened the window, you provided an opportunity in real time and continue to do so. And we have the ability to talk about a multitude of subjects at any given time. And even if we don't agree, we're still able to communicate and move forward.
Yeah.
That is huge and tremendous and doesn't happen often. And I applaud you for it, and I'm grateful for it. And I do not take it for granted. So in terms of you, is because you gave me my first opportunity into what was a dream at that time.
Yeah.
And gave me the platform to be able to do it, allowed me to move forward, allowed me to stumble. And then you were there when I stumbled and when I was able to course correct. But the admiration and you got this was still there. It wasn't, girl.
Never.
And then Stephanie started out, I was her big sister way back in high school.
Okay.
And then once we graduated, she became my big sister. She's a visionary and she thinks way beyond her years.
Yes.
And in terms of timing and what's happening. She was thinking about global things before global was a everyday commonality in terms of knowledge and stuff. And so being a champion for someone and saying, you got this, but understanding it's different than you because our relationship is different, but it's still real. And even if we're connected at the hip, it's there. Even if we are distanced, gazillion miles away, when we come back together, it's like there's no time or space that has, gone by the wayside, but also too, I can have any kind of subject with her. Yeah. And she's open and she hears and she will say, have you considered thus and such? And spit it out. You need to pay attention while it's happening because she's still in the next galaxy while you're trying to get up on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. And I admire that. And I think it's really great. So yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, just to let you know is that number one, I had no clue that I was really mentoring you. I actually thought that you just had phenomenal talent and skills and you just needed some guidance. And, and that more so than guidance, you needed to be connected.
That's
it. And I'm known as a connector. So it was not
master connector.
So it wasn't a difficult thing to do. When I know the person's got the goods, I will stand by you 100%. And you had that. So, years later, when you were like, you're my mentor, and I'm like, girl, you could be my mentor. What are you talking about? So,
well, that's the thing. It's a mutual admiration society, and it's willing to hear, it's willing to see what's good and what's not so good, what could be corrected, and having the platform to be able to share it in a way that is receptive and positive and proactive. That means everything to me. Yeah. The relationship means everything to me because it evolves and it keeps going. And so absolutely. Champion to champion, double high fives is all I could say.
So now, Lisa, what would the 9-year-old Lisa say to the grown-up Lisa today? What would she say about you?
Ooh, look at you. You're amazing. You're kind of like one of those people that I admired growing up, definitely, for sure.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. So she would approve of you, eh?
She totally would approve of me. Yeah.
That's awesome. So Lisa, as we get ready to close out, what are you looking forward to in the year 2022?
Clarity, productivity, peace, acceleration. Those three things. Okay.
Now, so is there anything you would like to say to the listening audience? And then how can they reach you?
What I would like to say, it's always a privilege and an opportunity to be able to share your gifts, especially if it's a passion. My gifts involve making sure that people feel empowered, that they are energized and enlightened after having an experience with me, whether it be coaching, whether it be training, whether it be strategic planning. And I would love to be able to share those gifts with you, especially if you are in need. I'm really good with team building, retreats, and one-on-one. So all of those are definitely great connectors. You can reach out to me at the Bishop Concept, www.thebishopconcept.com. And I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Beautiful. Well, Lisa, I would like to thank you for being a guest on Straight Talking with Kelly, where real conversations happen.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And definitely we'll do it again. To my
For sure.
To my listening audience, I want to thank you for listening. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and share my podcast so other people can hear this wonderful, wonderful information. And guess what? You could be my next guest. Take care.